So I met people before who told me that just because they went to another state or another country,
A little closer.
that changed their philosophy of life and their perception of life. You did say that looking at Earth from that point of view totally changed your view of things. So if you could, give some details of how that changed your perception of things. And the other question is, do you believe in UFOs and intelligent life out in space?
Okay. All right.
Did you get those? Did you hear them?
I could hear it. Yes, I'm fine. First, let me answer the question about our perception. Most of the men that have been to the moon, they may not have described the epiphany exactly like I did, but let's call it the overview effect, the effect of seeing Earth in the perspective of the larger perspective. We all were profoundly affected by all of that, and it causes you to think much more deeply. It causes you to ask the deep astronomical and cosmological questions. At least it did me. Now, some of the others, it didn't, but they were still impressed by the view that they saw. And made me realize the magnificence of this whole universe. And I've spent the last 40 years since I came back doing research in various areas pertaining to this particular thing. One of my major area of research has been into consciousness studies. And those of you, some of you know me or know about me, I know that I founded an institute in California called the Institute of Noetic Sciences that was focused on the study of consciousness. Now let me back that just a little bit. This all starts 400 years ago when the philosopher, a major philosopher at that time, his name René Descartes, you probably have heard about him. René Descartes, a prolific writer, mathematician, and stalwart in the Church of Rome, wrote a paper that body, mind, physicality, spirituality belonged to different realms of reality that did not interact. And that paper was accepted by the church and published. The good side of it was it got the Spanish Inquisition off the backs of the intellectuals of Europe, so they quit burning them at the stake for disagreeing with the church, provided they stayed away from the subject of mind and consciousness. And that has persisted for 400 years until the end of the 19th century, when Einstein and the other greats of the end of the 19th century started creating something we now call quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics became pretty well fully formed and not investigated, but fully formed by the 1920s. And we now understand that the first thing it showed was that Descartes was wrong. Body, mind do interact. Now, end product. Today, if we go back with the classical descriptions of the universe, we would say its primary substance is matter and energy. Now we have to understand, almost a century later, that there are at least three primary areas, and that's matter, energy, and awareness. That consciousness and awareness is the fundamental level of consciousness, are basic in the way the universe is put together, around at the very beginning of how it all is, and even down to the level of particles. It's particles that interact and go apart from each other. They maintain their correlation, and that's called quantum mechanics. That's what quantum mechanics describes. So we have a lot, what I'm trying to get to is we have a lot to learn here. We're just really getting started. And here in the 20th, going into the 21st century, we're discovering things that the ancients kind of touched upon a little bit in their mystical ideas, but they really didn't pin it down as a science in any way. And my Noetic Foundation that I started 40 years ago to begin investigation of this, we're now in 60 different countries and in universities. And the study of mind and consciousness and how they interact and mind over matter concepts are starting to be understood in a way they never were before. So here in the 21st century, we still have a lot of learning to do, and how is this big universe put together. And as we look at it, we see Well, the obvious, for example, we think the universe was formed with what we call a Big Bang. The Big Bang, okay, wasn't even a blip, perhaps, from what we're seeing. That there's matter being created all over in places far, far further than we ever thought it would be. And the universe, and maybe even multiverses, a multiverse would be if some of the universes have different laws of physics than what we see in ours, but we don't have a way to show or prove that. And there's a lot more stuff going on out there than we have even begun to investigate. And the gentleman asked a question about aliens and UFOs. My answer to that is not, it hasn't been my prime area of research, but I am on a close basis with virtually all the major research people in Europe, Pope, here in the United States, there's several of them, Ryan Wood and Dr. Ron Wood, and a whole batch of them in South America and Mexico that I have all their work, I've studied them, I've talked to them on a personal basis. Yeah, we've been visited, there's no question about it, in my mind. And you can even say it goes back to biblical times where there's a reference in the scripture of chariots of fire in the sky. But we still have a lot to learn here. We still have a lot to see, evidence to see, a lot to shake out and to put together. We think we're pretty smart, but we sure haven't touched the bottom of it yet, by any means. Okay, next.
Question down here.
This lady.
Hi, thank you very much for that extensive answer. And it's related to my question. I'm here with a graduate class in environmental issues, and we read today Wangari Maathai's Replenishing the Earth, the Nobel Prize winner who founded the Green Belt movement. Have you read this?
I have not read that
She
particular.
quotes you, which my class and I were all very excited to come here today.
Well, good.
And she quotes you, the founder of Institute of Noetic Science and sixth man on the moon, is saying, quote, "My view of our planet was wait a second. My view of our planet was a glimpse of divinity. We went to the moon as technicians. We returned as humanitarians."
I like to think that is true.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I guess I would just ask you to also add a little bit of that. What does it mean to be a humanitarian? And why do you think humans are caught up in this destruction of divinity, the
we have
earth?
to learn to do this. And what, to me, what is a motivator, my personal motivator has been since those times, to serve the greater good. We have to learn how can I serve the greater good in a way that's meaningful to me, in a way that's useful. We have to each find that for ourselves. But the question is to find service to the greater good instead of just service for self. And that's what most of us are inclined to do, is the profit motive is generally service to self. But we've got to be greater than that, or simply we're not going to survive. The sustainability issue on our planet is fundamental here. We have exploded our population from over 100 years, over 100 years ago, for just under 2 billion people to over 7 billion people now, and headed for 9 billion people very shortly. It's very clear we cannot consume at the rate we have been consuming, and with the increasing in it, and still maintain a civilization the way we have. So we as individuals have to tackle this problem. It's okay, we elect people that help us tackle this problem in a democracy, but we have to take the lead in our own life and serve it, and serve the greater good toward making this a sustainable civilization to end. Now, my work has been recently, after I founded Noetics, we've gone into it and founded a new foundation called Quantrec, and the whole purpose there is to learn how to utilize or develop and utilize purposefully zero-point energy, which is the fundamental energy from which the universe is created. And we still don't know how to do that. But our alien visitors certainly have had to conquer that because they've come here and we can't go there. And we have to be able to do that. And the main thing is to use that energy in ways to sustain our civilization in a more powerful way. Okay? Any more? Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.